Welcome back. We're speaking to Gill Westaway, the Country Director of British Council. So in the second half of the discussion, we started a new aspect to the discussion, and that was about the entrepreneurship concept and how Gill initiated in the British Council and she was instrumental in setting up the National Entrepreneurial Week. So taking it from there, Gill, I wanted to ask you, because Sri Lanka also needs to learn from international best practices, and you mentioned the UK experience with respect to increasing entrepreneurship among the university students in UK, and you specifically mentioned about the National Entrepreneurship Council and also UK educators and entrepreneurs. So if you can elaborate their role in UK and their objectives and goals, then let's see how we can actually translate that best practices in the context of Sri Lanka as well.
Right. Well, I think one of the interesting aspects of interacting with these UK bodies is to understand that it hasn't been plain sailing in the UK. There's been a lot of resistance to the idea of graduate entrepreneurship, if you like, because I think that in academic circles, entrepreneurship sometimes has rather negative connotations. Being an entrepreneur is being a sort of sharp business person, maybe slightly underhand, certainly not very academic. It could be only referring to people who study business, people who study management. But the way in which enterprise education is conceived is that it's relevant to everybody. It's not just management students and business students, it's students in all faculties of arts, social sciences, engineers, medics, whatever.
So how did they actually change this perception in UK? What did they do to sort of uplift the image of entrepreneurship and influence people and inspire people to be more be entrepreneurs and also start up their own businesses? How did they do that if there was so much resistance even in the UK?
Right. Well, I think it's an ongoing task. I don't think they're there yet. I think some of the newer universities, some of the universities that were former polytechnics are probably, in many cases, the more successful operators in this way. But I think that they do it by linking up with the business community very strongly and showing that there's a clear link between education and the business sector, very strong partnerships between the two sectors, setting up business incubators so that young students, even while they're still at university, get the chance to experiment. Because I think a lot about enterprise, it's not something abstract. It's simply the ability to handle uncertainty and to respond positively to change. It's about creating new ideas, taking risks, and having a really can-do attitude.
So can you define actually what entrepreneurship and enterprise mindset and innovative mindset, these are sort of concepts that we talk hand in hand, but what exactly are those?
Yeah, well, I've got a few definitions in front of me that have been drawn up by the enterprise educators in the UK. And as I said, the enterprising capability is about the ability to handle uncertainty, respond positively to change, create and implement new ideas and new ways of doing things, and taking reasonable risk to act on them in one's own personal and working life. The skills that you need to be an entrepreneur involve creativity, innovation, risk-taking, a real can-do attitude, and the drive to make these ideas happen. So enterprise education needs to develop that enterprise capability through innovative teaching and learning. So again, in a way, that takes us back to what we were talking about when we were talking about teaching English. The days where the lecturer stands in the front of the class and delivers long, boring, very teacher-centred lectures has gone. If the universities are going to produce entrepreneurial graduates, then the university staff have to teach innovatively, and they have to teach the students how to think, how to take risks, how to really be innovative thinkers themselves. And I think another aspect of it is encouraging students through business incubators to develop their ideas, to draw up their business plans, and to help them to access investors who will then fund those ideas, give them seed money so that they can experiment a bit. And that all while they're still at university, not when they've finished and they're out the other end, but while they're still in the middle of their university courses, they're getting involved in these things. But I think talking about what Sri Lanka can learn from the UK, I think it's also very important to stress that all our relationships are about mutuality. It's not about us having all the answers and bringing them to Sri Lanka. I think it's also about recognising that there are examples of good practice in Sri Lanka as well. And I know that on previous sessions of this programme, you've interviewed Professor Malik from Maratua, you've interviewed Chandra and Buldenya from the University of Uva-Valasa, and they are both Vice-Chancellors who really understand what graduate entrepreneurship is about and have put that into practice in their own universities. And we were very proud of the fact that through our work in bringing practitioners in the two countries together, that Chandra was actually invited last month to go to Oxford to take part in a training course which was imparting skills and giving them examples of good practice about leadership in the context of creating graduate entrepreneurs. And Chandra was talking about the work that he's doing at Uva-Valasa and how he is approaching the task as somebody who was charged with setting up a new university, and the challenges that he's faced and the considerable successes that he's having.
So basically it's a case of mutual learning and sharing information, learning from UK and UK also learning from Sri Lanka.
That's right.
So in that light, how has the British Council sort of encouraged partnership maybe between the UK universities and industries and Sri Lankan universities? How has the British Council facilitated building bridges and partnerships?
Well, I think we've gone about it by setting up a series of policy dialogues where we've brought universities in the UK together with universities in Sri Lanka. We've involved the University Grants Commission, and we've brought in the head of the National Council for Graduate Entrepreneurship, for example, to explore how we can cross-fertilise in this area. And we're using what's known as the Prime Minister's Initiative, funding under that scheme, to set up new partnerships between universities in Sri Lanka and the UK.
When you say Prime Minister's Initiative, you're referring to UK Prime Minister, right?
That's right.
What is it exactly?
The Prime Minister's Initiative was set up some years ago now, really, to promote a wider knowledge of the merits of UK education, but not only in terms of overseas students studying in our country, but to develop new relationships in a spirit of partnership between the UK and other countries in which we work. And I think it's on that basis that we've established these partnerships between universities in Sri Lanka and universities in the UK, to really look at how the universities can share good practice and develop their universities to look in more detail at how graduate entrepreneurship can be fostered and encouraged. And there are 3 new partnerships which have just started between Maratua and the London College of Fashion, Plymouth with Kelaniya and Colombo, and Sabaragamua with Durham. So